S4P A123 26650 M1B pack. And yeah, I know I need to attach some real leads on the positive and negative, but I'll get to that. So the M8S, I don't remember what the max balancing current discharge current and wattage is, but it's nothing impressive, but still decent. However, this has two modes that are extremely important and that you find on other high-end chargers, not a $50 one like this. Chargers like why is the name escaping? iCharger. All the high-end iChargers have a recycle mode that will put energy into another battery as it's discharging from this one, or it has an external mode, meaning you can use anything that will dump power, like a power resistor, and that can then dump as much as the power resistor then can. Technically, these are 100 watt power resistors. The lettering's scratched off, but this one is a 100 watt 1 ohm. I believe this one's a 2 ohm, but I believe it's a 2 ohm. Doesn't really matter that much here. Just keep in mind, the 100 watt rating, like it says on here, that is really if you have it mounted to a heat sink. And like this is not the proper way, of course, but this is a heat sink that it's just sitting on. So it's something. The fan on this is not running or anything, but I do have this fan over here just providing some airflow. When you don't have these properly mounted to a heat sink with thermal paste and all that good stuff, I would say its rating is about a quarter of, what it says. Beyond that, it's going to get really, really, really hot, like over 150 Celsius. And like this one, I have kind of sort of burned it. It's not dead yet though, but it was smoking. So you'll see here, I am running this 4 amps, so 52.8 watts. It's going to get real hot. I'm going to go with my thermometer in a second, but it's going to get over 100 Celsius for sure. If I had some thermal paste and had that, better secured on the heat sink, and I had the fan running below it, it might stay at 100-ish, but, that's what these are going to run at. If I had no fan here, I couldn't run it at 50 watts. It would get too hot, it would probably start smoking. So let's go grab my thermometer real quick. Here it is. As you can see, I've got a ton of crap. Guess is we're at 100 degrees Celsius right now. So let's see, 100 Celsius. 153 Celsius. Let's try to max. And again, reflective surfaces are not always the best, but 153.6. And the fan's not angled great at it, but it's providing airflow. So that's my point. If you were trying to run this at 100 watts, it would be smoking right now. So, and as you can see, the M8S is not great at, controlling the current perfectly. I'm still trying to kind of get to the bottom of that, but I've asked online. No one seems to really know. But 4 amps is really the bare minimum to kind of run this even get a good idea, because 4 of these in series, that's 1 amp each, 2.5 amp hour cells, but these are also the most power cells out there. The only thing that comes close is those Headways do come very close. I can run these at 40 amps. They don't get over 40 Celsius, and they provide me the same milliamp hours as if I ran them at 8 amps, 16 amps, 24 amps, 32 amps. I get these are 2015 cells, but apparently they were never really used. They have an internal resistance, ACIR, of 1.9 For the 8 that I got, I accidentally sent one reverse polarity because I had a power resistor just on its own, kind of in this setup, using just some alligator clips, and I didn't have any other device to stop it. I had a timer set, got distracted, and it took it down to 0, and then below, and it went reverse polarity, and where did I put it? Ah, it's in this bag, and honestly, this is probably not sufficient. I took the wrap. Oh, yeah, I did. It's back on. You can see that's all leaked out the electrolyte. You do not want to really mess with that stuff. It is not good for your health. But yeah, let's see if I can. So underneath here, it's going to have the date, and you can see the 15 there. So there's a 2015 cell. I believe it's not on there. It's on the wrap, but I believe it's like October 2015 or something. Doesn't really matter. I bought these off eBay. If I can remember the seller's name, I'll put it in the description. They're kind of a scammer. They're from Arizona near me, and you know, they said never cycled, new. I saw that they were 2015s. However, they didn't put that in the description, so you had to look at the pictures. And if these were never cycled, then these were not stored well. The box that these came in, it shows, you know, ACIR numbers, and it shows capacity numbers, and it was showing capacity numbers, you know, unless it's a different box, but it was showing capacity numbers over like 9,000. So these, you know, I know calendar aging is a thing, but these things, they all pull just over 8,000 milliamp hours. So I'm guessing these, being in Arizona, were probably stored outdoors or in a garage or something, and were stored where they weren't kept below 25 Celsius. Ideal storage conditions would be 10 to 20 Celsius would be ideal. Because I have other cells that hell old and, you know, still pull great capacity. Let me just take a peek-sees at this and see if I can find the date on this. Is October 15th of 2015. And like I was saying, they all pull just over 8,000, anywhere between 1 amp and 40 amps. I don't really have a way to run that higher unless I paralleled some loads. I could probably find a way to do it higher, but so 40 amps, those things, they don't get above 40 Celsius, or actually I have the numbers right here. 32.8, 35.5, 37, 38. Here we got the 42 and 44 right at the end here. You can take these down to 2.0, however, it's kind of pointless because you see 2.5 to 2.0. The difference was not even 200 milliamp hours, you know, roughly. 1 hour slightly more. Temp, you know, that was just really the end there. So yeah, so the first measurement I took was pretty much halfway through, and it started at about 2.8, it dipped down to about 2.8, and then rebounded up as it kind of settled, and this is where it started to then actually go down again. So the first 5 amp hours, pretty much, it stayed at 2.8 to 2.9, and then finally started to dip as the next 700 amp hours after that, 2.86, 2.85 at 6.2 amp hours. At 6.6, we were at 2.82, and then here's where we really started to tail off, 2.78 volts, 7 amp hours. And this is kind of where the temperature started to really hit its peak, 40 degrees Celsius. And then between 7 amp hours and 7.8, our voltage really dropped. And then from 2.5 to 2.0, as you can see, it was a real quick dive. temperature didn't change all that much, and that's a 12-minute 5C discharge. 5 times 12 is 60 minutes, so that pans out perfectly. So, we're still, chugging along at 4 amps. I'm sure if I ran this at 40 amps, it would be very similar. I'll probably do that next. But that's still only 10 amps a cell. That's nothing for these, nothing. Here's a 4S 8P, where I was smart enough not to remove the original nickel plating or nickel sheet. When you buy these packs, if they come like this, like the original 12S 8Ps, leave them like this. If you want to cut them into thirds to turn them into 12 volts, that's fine. That's fine, as you can see. I did that here. Don't try to remove the individual cells. It's not worth it. You can make holes in the top of the cells because the stuff is so thick. When you try to remove it, you got to be kind of careful. And then also, these are hard to spot weld because the can is aluminum. They do put like these nickel discs, I think on both sides. I'm not 100% sure, but it's still incredibly hard to spot weld. I have a JQ DHJ02B PCB spot welder board. Here's my original one that I blew up. Great spot welder board. $18 on AliExpress, like 25 or 28 on Amazon, of course, because Amazon is just AliExpress, stocked in the US with a big markup. I had this pack plus a Headway 3S 2P. So what I did is I modified this so that I think you can see it here. So this is actually the positive. I fucked this up. So here's the negative. And then, I guess it'd be on the other side here. Actually, you can see here, I did it kind of the other way around. I started it here, so we went, this was our first group, this second group, third group. So I turned it into a 3S, and it's a 4S, so I can run it either way, but because I sent one of my Headways reverse polarity, I only have 7, so I did a 3S pack. Anyways, I paralleled them up, and that was way too much power for this board, and it blew up. To be expected, because it gives you a red overpower light in here, and will tell you if, I selected, so 0 to 10 amps, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and I was like, okay, so I've got 20 here, and I've got 16 on the other, so 30 to 40, and then, they're all about 20 to 30 C is about a fair number. Well, it blinks red, it shows you it's an overpower, and, I should have known, don't even try it, but I was trying to max this damn thing out, and I blew it up. So then I thought, okay, well, I'm not sure if I just blew up the fets. So I took the original fets off, and I tried putting these on. These are IRL40SC228s. These are very high amperage fets, 500 or something crazy. 6 of them total. Either something else on here is damaged, which is likely, or I didn't do a good job welding these on, soldering them on here. That's likely too. That was my first time ever really trying to solder fets. I also fucked up these pads because I'm using this size lugs. This is on 6 gauge. I'm also using 2 gauge. Let me see if I have that here too. No, here's more 6 gauge. Could have sworn I have some 2 gauge somewhere around here. Right here. And here's the 2 gauge I was also using. And now let me see if I can find the original cables that this thing comes with. And I think those are in my bedroom. And I'm not going to bother grabbing those. This comes with 10 gauge silicone, which is great. Good quality. But it's using the open barrel type ring terminals. and those are okay, but they're significantly smaller than this, and the pads are really meant for that. So when you try to put one of these on here, you don't have a lot of room between the other two. So that was my issue, is they were touching like twice, and just without that much power, it was just fucking burning the pads up. So that could be my issue too. Hopefully I can salvage these fets. Not that they were terribly expensive either. I was shocked that they were real for how cheap they were. For 10 of them, I paid like $14, I think, shipped. So, and with all my testing, like testing the RDS on resistance using my RC3563 ACIR meter, they appear to be real. You run some current through them at the, proper gate voltage, and they came out within specs, so I believe they are legit. I wonder if I have those out here. Shit. Maybe somewhere. Maybe up here. Also, I do plan on one day using, I only have 2 of these so far, but on eBay, there's, I think it's I Bongyong, South Korean guy. You can buy 6 of these from him for $110 plus 67 shipping. Yes, they're coming from South Korea, so it does take a long time to get them, like 2 months almost for me. But dude, $180 for 6 of these. Yes, the internal resistance, because they're used, is a little bit higher than what the spec sheet says. The spec sheet says like 0.28 or something like that, maybe a little lower, and they're like 0.36, I believe. But the power these can put out is like 2,000 amps. So you put 4, 5, or 6 of these in series to get the voltage up high enough that this runs well. I believe the minimum voltage is 6 volts, but really, I would just run it at 12 because that seems to be its preferred area, but you could probably get away with running 3 of these. I don't think you could use 2. I might try it though. I don't want to blow up another board though. But I think 3 of these would work. And, you got 2,000 amps there. And, keep in mind what's important is amperage. I don't believe that voltage is really important when you're spot welding, because you need amperage to melt stuff, heat. You don't need voltage. So if it's enough voltage for the board to run, then it works. And these put out 2,000 amps each max, and even when they're used, they probably put out 1,500, I'd guess. You could do the math, I guess, 0.36 milliohms, and that's a shit ton of power. I mean, that's gonna beat these A123 or the Headways or the A123s, unless you get a fairly big bag. You can buy these Headways right now on eBay for about $70 for 8-pack. I think it's an 8-pack or a 10-pack. You just need 8, really. You could buy them from Battery Hookup for $6 or $7 a piece, something like that. But they're a grab bag. They're used. Some of them are very degraded and pull 5 or 6 amp hours. Some of them are okay and they pull 8. But from all the people I've seen that post them on YouTube, it's a total grab bag of what you're gonna get. So you almost have to order twice as many as you need, and then pick the good ones out and use the good ones for your spot welder. Because those ones that are pulling 6 amp hours, that's a lot of degradation. That's 25%. So that's as far as I'm concerned, that's end of life, and that's where things seriously start to go downhill fast, really fast. So I would imagine that the internal resistance on those is quite high too. So I'm guessing they would not work well for a spot welder. Maybe I'm wrong, but I wouldn't waste my money there. You can order them new from Lithium Ion Wholesale for $13.59, or Sriko batteries, Sriko, and they have them for about the same price as lithium-ion wholesale. Sriko also has LTO, all kinds of, they kind of cater a bit more to the car audio guys. So they have all kinds of power cells, great pricing overall. I've never ordered from them, but I mean, I've never seen any bad reviews, and they've got everything, great prices. So there's another great place if you want to order, especially LTO cells. That would be, if you're in the USA, that's where I would order LTO from. Always make sure you get barley paper too. It's so much cheaper off AliExpress. Don't buy it on Amazon. You want to make sure that you buy pure nickel strip. Stop buying fucking plated steel, you idiots. It's garbage. It's 4 times the resistance of pure nickel. And then I believe copper, of the same thickness and size and everything, is 4 times less resistance than pure nickel. Plated steel is garbage. Stop fucking using it unless you're using it for a super low draw, device. Why you would ever fucking use plated steel in anything really just blows my mind. It's not that much cheaper. It is a little bit cheaper, but God. This board can do 0.15 all day long on like the first 2 power settings. I was doing 0.20 pure nickel on the second to highest power setting. Pretty much worked fine. I would go up to the highest setting, and keep in mind these are a lot harder to spot weld because of the aluminum can and only having that nickel disc. I think in both sides, I might be wrong, but like on a regular cell like this, 0.2 pure nickel, middle power setting, fine. 0.3 is probably doable. Copper nickel sandwich with 0.1 millimeter copper, and then here's the one use for nickel plated steel is you put it on top of the copper, and the key to spot welding copper is copper has such low resistance that you need something with high resistance to melt the copper. That's where nickel plated steel comes in, and that's the only good use for it. I am kind of thinking about soldering this used to be a copper pipe, and then I don't have it here, I use my hydraulic crimper and to flatten this, but you could use other things too, but you really need, at the bare minimum, a vise or something, or a sledgehammer. And I was thinking about flattening this out and soldering this on here, because this is quite thick. Cats are going bananas. So let's see. This is 1.3 millimeters. This is over a millimeter thick. 1.5. 1.4. It's just a little hard to get it flat, and that's what's going to be key here, because you need it to touch all the surfaces. 1.3, 1.2. Okay, and then 1.2. So even on a flat part, it's going to be 1.0, maybe a tad thicker. And you're, probably, some people are probably thinking, well, you got the nickel on there, and putting the copper on top's not going to do anything. But I've actually done testing. Again, path of least resistance. So when you put copper on top of this, you're going to have the current running to the, of course, to the nickel first. But then it's going to go, okay, how do I jump to the next series? Well, the copper is going to be much less resistance, so it's going to choose the copper to jump up to and run across. Hence, this, is not the best way to do it, because you have copper below, or nickel below it, at least for that first part. But then for the series jump, it's going to choose the copper, and that will help It's not quite as good as putting the copper just first, but you could never ever spot weld this. And soldering is just no bueno on these cells. It's even harder because the nickel can fucking absorb so much heat. So this does work. My thought is probably grab some nickel strip, of course, a longer section, and then solder that, or maybe go a little further out, solder, and then leave some room so that I can spot weld down, and just right on the edge of the nickel, I can spot weld this. And that way, hopefully it's compressed enough on the pack and sitting flat enough that it will, give good contact, because that's key. This is gonna have to sit flush. And I may even try to solder it just like that, even though that's kind of a no-no. It's gonna heat up the cells. I'm gonna have to use my big 200-watt iron. But, that then I could actually use the full potential of these cells, which is 50 amp continuous and like 100, 120 amps burst. And when it comes to spot welding, when you're doing, 30 millisecond bursts, these things put out an insane amount of current. Insane. Like I was saying, this pack in a 4S 8P configuration, this pack is 3.7 milliohms measured from here and like here. So 3.7 milliohms. That's going to rival a lot of your Lipos. Only the best of the best Lipos in a 4S configuration around the 5,000 to 8,000 milliamp hour area are going to be 2 milliohms or maybe a tad less. And those are the best of the best Lipos, like an SMC, and they're not cheap. This 12S 8P pack, when I originally got it, which was 3 of these chunks all together in a row, and I just cut them with a Dremel, was $110 shipped. And then he's got ones that have never been cycled for $110 shipped. And the first time after you buy from him, he sends you a little note. Let's see if I have it. I may have, nope, I've got it right here. Here we go. Thank you for the purchase. If there's any questions, concerns with the battery, please let us know and we can fix it or help you install it. We can also offer a discount on future ones if you want to purchase direct, at least 7 to 10% off and no sales tax. Message us through Amazon or eBay. I bought off eBay. Or just text this number and thanks, Mark. The only thing that people don't like about this guy is he ships them illegally, meaning he does not, claim these as like hazardous goods. These are lithium iron phosphate. These are not dangerous. They're not going to blow up on a plane or anything. These are incredibly safe. If it was lithium ion NMC like this, I'd say, okay, that's a little reckless. But this is lithium iron phosphate, so he couldn't sell it that cheap and cover shipping if he was declaring it as the hazardous good that it is. So I'm okay with that. So you could probably get his uncycled packs. Again, this one was considered used at $100 shipped. I tested it. It was 19.7 amp hours at the lowest rating that I got, and it was like a couple watt hours short of its rating. So it was testing at like 97 or 98% of its rated capacity, and it was used. So I can only imagine the $110 packs are probably flawless. One of these chunks where I pulled the individual cells out to make, something like this, which was dumb. Each cell came out to 5.9 milliohms ACIR, which if you look at the data sheet, that is spot on. So these are just the best deal in the world right now. 96 cells, $110 shipped. Where are you going to find that deal on these A123 650 M1Bs? You're not. You're not. And if you do, they're going to be extremely degraded ones that were in an electric bus, which many of those are the M1As anyways. But yeah, there's a lot of like, I hate to say anything negative about this company, but Battery Clearinghouse, great company, kind of like Battery Hookup. However, their A123 packs are extremely degraded. They flat out say it though on their website, so props to them for being honest. But you know, their packs are dirt cheap, and there's a reason why. A lot of the packs that came out of buses in this 12S8P configuration are extremely degraded. However, this guy, his packs didn't all come from buses. Some of them came from server backups. The same setup where it was like, I think 16 of these 12S8P packs in like a big box, and that was used for backup at data centers, meaning they never got cycled really. So that's why these things are so awesome. It doesn't look like the dude has a ton left on eBay, but maybe he does have a ton, because it looks like he had like containers full of them, like shipping containers full of them. These are a bomb deal. Amazing deal. And cutting them into thirds is a monkey could do. So they're stupid easy to make, they're stupid easy to use. I mean, so what, you know, they have like, this kind of gets used as a fuse because the way it comes in its plastic case, this is kind of used as a fuse because I think it's actually on the plastic case that has a metal piece that's like slotted, so if the current's way too high, this will, you know, melt. But anyways, the other side has one like this too, so you can use this to solder a wire right here, and then as you see I did on the other side here, I just a couple points here with a big soldering iron at 200 watt. Works just fine. However, I would love to use some 6 gauge or some 2 gauge. My plan was to use some 2 gauge and put it down like that. Currently how I do it when I use this as a 3S is you see how I have that screw down in there? I use it like that. And I just bolt it like that and it works. So again, these are great freaking cells. They have these tabs here for balancing. It's just a great fucking pack, and it takes about an hour of your time the first time you cut one of these into thirds. You're just gonna wanna make sure you go slow and you trace everything, and you also do the plastic cell holder case it comes in. Downside is these cells are not energy dense to begin with, of course, because they're super duper power cells. And then as you can see, they're spaced out here for cooling, I would guess. This is not an issue for me. Also, the middle pack that I had, I don't have it with me because I use it for camping. It's gonna be a little bit smaller because it lacks this on the end here. It fits in a 30 cal ammo can perfectly, even with the plastic cell holders on. Perfectly in a 30 cal ammo can with a little bit of room to spare for some padding and stuff. And then on that 30 cal ammo can, I slapped a 70 watt Cobb LED panel, 7,000 lumens. And then I have, I don't know where I put them, but I have a little buck boost module, the XYS 3580. Don't get the ZK4KX or ZK5KX. They have a serious flaw where the constant current doesn't work if you toggle the power on and off. It only works the first time the unit is like officially powered on. Don't ask me why. Don't use those. Pay a little bit of extra money for the XYS 3580, or better yet, the XHY 3606, because the XHY 3606 is a 6 amp 216 watt versus the other model being a 5 amp 80 watt. So, and the difference in price is about $5, $20 versus $25. So yeah, XHY 3606, a great little module, tons of features, a million features, and 216 watts, 6 amps, meaning that 5 amp 12 watt LED can run it can run up to about 3 amps, and beyond that on the XYS it gets too hot and you need a second fan. It has a fan, but it need another one. But yeah, so I use that thing as a light when camping, and it'll light up your whole campsite. And I run it at just 1 amp because that's plenty bright enough, and a 20 amp hour module, 20 hours of runtime. So, I mean, shit, even if you run it 4 hours a night, that's 5 days. Or I guess if you have an RV or camper, especially if you have like a pop-up camper and you want lighting in there, you turn the power way down on that thing, and the 6 amp model comes with a remote, which is kind of nice. But you know, you could turn the power way down, and you could use that thing at night if you have to get up to go outside and go pee or something. Is you could just turn it on. Yeah, if there's other people in there, it's probably gonna wake them up, because even at 2 amps, it's gonna be bright. But it just makes a great little light. You know, yeah, it's in a 30 cal ammo can, so it's not tiny or anything, but it is quite the workhorse, because if you wanted to, you could take even some 6 gauge, but if you took some 2 gauge wire like this and attached it on, even on this size pack, if you got enough nickel copper on here to really draw the power out, and then you somehow managed to secure some 2 gauge on there, and then got some big copper clamps, it could jumpstart any vehicle, even a Class A motorhome. I'm sure it could jumpstart. So it wouldn't shock me if it could jumpstart a semi in the 4S 8P configuration. So, you have it to use for that. You could have it to use, like, let's say you have a air conditioning unit that you want to run, but the initial current draw may be, too much for your batteries. You could have this in parallel to just start it and then run it on your other lithium iron phosphate batteries. But just that initial startup surge of the compressor is, going to be a lot, as long as your inverter, or if it's a 12 volt, you don't need the inverter. But this thing could essentially be used as like a capacitor boost pack. Or you can use it as a jump starter, like I said. You can just simply use it to power a light, which I know isn't the most efficient, best way of using these power cells, but it's a way. It's extremely safe because these are lithium iron phosphate. I mean, what else could you use it for? You could use it for anything out there that's 12 volts. From starting a freaking semi, essentially, to powering a light. Anything out there. So while you're camping, it's just one of those, and it's in a 30 cal ammo can that you can get from Harbor Freight for $10. And you can do anything with it out there. You can jump anyone's truck that you need to. You can, run a winch. You can start an air conditioner, and, just to get it going. Anything you need to do. So these packs are great. I'll leave the link below. I'll try to leave a link for some good Headways. Anyways, yeah, there you guys go. We started talking about this and then got sidetracked and everything. JQDHJ02B, I'll leave a link for this too. I'll leave a link for everything. These drop power supplies control the voltage and the current. These are amazing. They're, for 480 watt unit, they're like $50-$60 at most. Yes, it's, you could buy one of these for about the same price, but, you can get these. This is a 30 volt 10 amp, so 300 watt, whereas this is a 48 volt 10 amp 480 watt. And normally with these Chinese power supplies, you don't run them above 75% of their rating. These are actually decent enough that you can run them close to max. Or you can, I power my Lipo charger off 2 of these. This is the HP DPS. Where is it? It has a lot of model names, but like one of them is HST NS PL28. The last digits are often what they use to list these, but as you can see, there's a ton of part numbers, but they're known as HP DPS. This is the 460 watt. There's a 750 watt. There's an 800 watt, and there's a 1200 watt. The 1200 watt, if you run it on 110, it's only a 900 watt. But if we look very closely here, it is inputs, and here's our output. 12 volts, 38.3 amps. Well, you put two of these in series, all you have to do is one of them just, did I do it on the, nope, I did it on the other one. It's a 10-minute mod. The screws that connect the board back here, you isolate the board so that it's not grounded to the case, just on one of them. And then you connect them like this. You don't have to use banana plugs, you can just use wire or whatever. And as you can see, I have them series connected, so we have the negative of the bottom unit. The top unit is the floating one with the ground that's not connected. And here's our positive going to the negative of the floating unit. And here's our positive coming out. And as you can see, I'd have to change this, but out of this comes 25 volts, and it is slightly adjustable. You can adjust these. You can actually make some modifications, and you can pull like 15 volts out of one. And again, these are super easy to modify. A billion people have done it online. There's a billion tutorials. Anyone can do it. Just, if you don't know what you're doing at all, maybe you want to ask for some help. Or I can build you one. Let's see. Here we go. So let's go right here. And, what am I doing? I've got the power out right here. So yeah, like I was saying, 460, 920 watts, 24 volt, 38.8 amps, meaning this thing's 400 watt max, so yeah. And these things are absolute beasts. These 460s are $10 each, $8 if you buy a couple of them at least on eBay. The 1200s are about $20 a piece. Really the 460s work great because unless you have an iCharger that's like a 2000 watt charger, then maybe you get the 1200s because they'll run at 900 watts on 110, 120 volt in the US. But for something like this, these two work great. Cost me $16 for two of them, and $5 for this, and $10 for some miscellaneous parts. I have a piece of black, like acrylic, or no, it's some kind of plastic. I have a piece of black plastic like this in the middle, and I also have it wrapped in electrical tape just to be safe. But then I also have this in the middle, and then I shrink wrap them individually, and then I shrink wrap the whole package. And I can put any connectors you want back there. They're just soldered onto the pads back there. You can also drill the pads and then, screw something in there. There's a couple, you can directly solder hardwire into the AC input, or you can just buy a splitter cable, and boom. And I have these little IR, like on-off switches essentially, and I guess I'll turn off the one that's running the fan, this thing. So, you don't have an on-off switch on this thing? No need to do anything, no need to buy an inline on-off switch. You got a freaking remote. This package was like $18 for 5 of them, 2 remotes. It does take batteries that are the 12 volt ones that are a little expensive, but it comes with 2 of them. And it just makes it so easy that I have all this stuff on a remote, and I just push a button. I don't need to unplug anything, or just awesome. So yeah, this cable was $4 or $5, and then this cable, I actually had it from like an old monitor or something, but you can get one of these for $5. That's all there is to it. I have less than $40 into this whole thing for a 24 volt, 25 volt, 30 amp power supply to power a Lipo charger. And again, this is almost 1,000 watts, so most Lipo chargers will be more than happy. You can run these at 80-90% all day. They're powerhouse units. They lasted forever in a server room anyways, which is a very clean environment. They're taken care of. Yeah, they're used, but this is the best kind of used out of anything out there, because they were taken care of. Don't buy them new, because they're very, very expensive then, but used, they're very cheap. So I'll link to this too.